If you have been following the series, I've been talking about putting boundaries in place where compassion or empathy is concerned. And the series is titled Empathy and Boundaries, or you could say Compassion and Boundaries. This is the third episode in the series. And today I'm going to be talking about recognizing when you've crossed over from helping or supporting someone to actually enabling them. And I'm going to break all that down. I mean, the term enabling or enabler is quite out there, so it's quite a well-known word, but I'm going to break it down a little bit more just in case you're not familiar with that word. And I also hope to bring some fresh perspective to you as well if you are already familiar with that term. Welcome to the Super Abundant Life podcast, where we teach the Bible in a simple, authentic, and practical way so that Christians can skillfully apply the Word of God to create supernatural results in every area of life. This is your host, Olawumi Brigwe. So, in the series, I've talked about how I came across this and the scripture that I've been using to teach why we need to put boundaries in place where our empathy and our compassion are concerned is Proverbs 3:27-28. And I'll just read it through and I'll extract the three principles that I've been talking about in the series so far. Proverbs 3:27 and 28 says, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due or to those who deserve it, when it is in your power to help them. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say come back tomorrow and then I'll help you." And in the first episode, if you haven't listened to the first episode of the series, which is episode 177, I break it down in full detail and I talk about how to recognize whom to help, when to help, and so on. But let me just do a quick recap of that in 2 minutes. Essentially, in that scripture, in Proverbs 3:27-28, there are three principles, not hairy-fairy, or I feel like helping somebody, don't feel like helping somebody. No, we're not basing on feelings, and we're not basing on the person themselves. So I'm not saying, I don't like this person, I'm going to help it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. You can actually be guided by principles when it comes to helping, when it comes to supporting people, when it comes to allowing the love of God within you to flow from inside you to help people. So those three guiding principles that I pulled out from those two verses are: number one, it says, do not withhold good or help from those to whom it is due or who deserve it. And I talked about the fact that we can infer that you actually should withhold good from those to whom it is not due. And I explained that being not due to them or they not deserving it has nothing to do with the person themselves, because we're all beneficiaries of grace. None of us deserve anything. God is the one that is pouring out his grace upon our lives, and it is by grace that we're saved, right? So it's not about the person, but to whom it is due suggests that there's some kind of due that should have been paid in advance, not necessarily to you. So for example, somebody says they're looking for work and they've been looking for work for a while, and you've invested quite a lot of time in helping them. Okay, let's look at your CV, let's do this. And every time you sit down with them and say, okay, you go on and finish that, we'll meet next week or we'll see tomorrow and let me see what you've done, and they keep coming back having done nothing, but they still want to draw on your time for whatever reason, you have to draw a line at some point and say, you haven't done any work. You're not ready to receive this thing that I'm offering you. So you need to go back and get to the point where you have put some dues in place in order for me to be able to help you and you to be able to receive the help. I mean, that's just a quick summary. Go and listen to the first episode in the series to fully understand what I'm saying there. The second one is, it says, when it is in your power to help them, don't withhold the good. Meaning, you should withhold the good when it is not in your power to help them. And I talked about the fact that being in your power does not necessarily mean that you don't have the resources to help them. You may have the resources to help someone, but it is not in your power. It is not your place to help them. It is not your place. And helping them will actually produce either harmful consequences in their life or less than they should have actually walked away with in that situation. So you think, oh, I'm going to help them, I'm going to help them. Meanwhile, there's a greater help or greater opportunity waiting for them 2 minutes down the line, but you've jumped in and helped them because, oh, I just have the resources to help them. And of course, the third one is, it says, it says if you can help them now, so you do have the resources, you have what it takes to help them, don't say come back tomorrow. So in other words, if you don't have the resources, if you don't have what it takes, it's okay to say come back tomorrow. It is not okay to go and rob Peter to pay Paul, especially if it is coming from the place of people wanting to manipulate and guilt trip. Do not be guilt tripped into helping anyone and violating your own conscience. If you don't have it, you don't have to do it. Nobody is expecting anybody, including God, to give what they don't have. You never see anybody in the Bible where God says, you don't have this thing, but I want you to go and find it to come and give it to me. No, it's always whatever they had. It was always whatever they already possessed. And it's the same with human beings. So if you don't genuinely have it, and I taught in depth in the first episode of a series, I talked about how, because we are compassionate beings, because we are love beings, you don't have to shut the door completely. You don't have to say, I don't have it, bye-bye. You could actually say, do you know what? At the moment, I don't have it. However, it says you can say, come back tomorrow. So postpone it and say, in a week's time, I would be able to, or in a month's time. And don't just make empty promises. Actually do follow up. And if they no longer need your help, if it's all sorted by then it's all good, okay? But do follow up. And I taught using examples of how that can actually work out or play out in real life in the first episode. In the second episode, I talked about when helping someone poses significant risk to you and being able to recognize that. Okay, I mean, that's a summary of that, and I break it down. I give different examples of how to recognize this, because if you keep showing up to support someone that is posing danger to you as a person, God knows where that could end up. And we don't want to put ourselves in a position where you could end up becoming a prey in something that could very easily have been avoided if you had just taken the right steps and made the right decision to remove your access or the person's access to you. Okay, so the third episode, today I'm going to be talking about enabling. How do you know when your help or your support of someone has stopped being help and support and it has become something more sinister, which is enabling? Now, first of all, I want to define what enabling is, what I see enabling is, and what is generally the accepted definition of that word. This is how I would put it. If your help or your support is harming someone, it is enabling and it is not love. It is not love. It is not help. It is not support. It is a special word called what? Enabling. If it's bringing them any kind of harm. Now, to harm someone means to cause either physical, emotional, or mental damage. Now, the damage can be immediate. It can be instant. You do something and boom, there you go, there's damage. Or it could be longer term. It may not show up in the person's life until years later. Okay, so the question you need to ask yourself, if you think, hey, am I helping, am I enabling, is ask yourself, will my help harm this person in the long run? That's the simplest way to describe or define what enabling is. It's the simplest way. It's being able to look beyond the present urgent need and being able to cast our minds a little bit further, maybe to tomorrow, maybe to 10 years time, and thinking, yes, this person is in front of me and they need my help, but me showing up to help them in the way that I think they should be helped, or in a way that they're asking to be helped, is it going to be good for them tomorrow or in 10 years time? Is it going to be good for them? A very simple example that I love to use is Jochebed. Jochebed was Moses' mother. There was a time when she gave birth to the child, the Bible says that she saw something special in that child. She just knew that there was something, there was a prophetic call upon. That it went beyond the motherly love, like, oh, I don't want my child to be killed. It was more than that. She had to actually step out of the role of the mother, almost to the role of a prophet. Like, I can see something special upon this child. I can't just allow this child die. And she stepped into that role to help the child. And I think she hid the child for about 3 months. But then came the time where she had to let go. She was still helping the child by letting go, but the nature of the help had changed. It had changed. So we have to be able to recognize that. So the way we help somebody in a season does not mean that's how you're going to continue helping them all the time. It may start off with you giving the person money because they've just hit hard times. But if the season does not change and is always about giving money, how exactly is that still helping? Do you see what I mean? And I'm talking about full-grown adults now. Okay, you see what I mean? So at some point, the nature of the help should change because everyone should be growing. We should all be growing. It's one thing for somebody to call you up and say, oh, can you give me information about this? Can you tell me something? And you give them information. The nature of that relationship should change to the point that what they're asking for the next time is, actually, I have a couple of ideas. Can I run something by you? They are starting off by presenting something to you and you then reason together. You can see that there's growth there. It's not always the same level of help, the same kind of help for years and years and years and years. There's something wrong there. So that's what we mean by enabling. That's what we mean by enabling. So the help that you are providing in that moment, is it going to help the person in the long run? And one of the things that I kept stressing throughout this series is, I'm not talking about one-off help. Okay, you cannot become an enabler to a stranger. Do you see what I mean? Somebody needs your help now. Say, hey, am I enabling? It's not possible to become an enabler. You can only become an enabler to someone you have a relationship with. There has to be some kind of connection over a significant period of time before you can even say I'm becoming an enabler. So somebody needs your help right now. You can do. I mean, the 3 criteria have been met. You have it. You can help. Do it. Okay, if you have it, don't withhold it. Do it. Okay, but if you have a relationship with a person and you can see a pattern, so this is all about recognizing patterns. If you're beginning to see a pattern, you have to stop. You have to wait in your mind. You have to pray about it and consider, is this becoming something else? Is this turning into something else? Is this now becoming sinister in the sense that, is it now starting to risk? Is there now a risk of danger coming to the person through my enablement, or the person bringing some kind of danger to me? So that's what we're talking about, okay? Okay, so I want to give a couple of examples. So let me just give a quick rundown on what's going to happen in today's episode. I'm going to give a random example, just an abstract example, and I want to use parenting to do that, to really show the difference, because sometimes it can be difficult for us to decipher between helping someone, the people we love, and enabling them. And then I'm going to give a real life example, something that happened, and it actually came to my attention again recently that I was like, this is the perfect example that I can give. And of course, I'm going to go into the Bible to show you how it is when we don't enable, how empowering it is when you love someone but you say, no, I'm not going to help you. I'm not doing that help or rendering that service to them ends up being the most powerful way you're actually helping them. And to finish up, I'm going to give 7 signs that you can look out for to help you determine when your helping has become enabling. Okay, so first thing is just to give an example of what helping versus enabling could look like in the parenting space. So let's say you have a child and this child has an assignment. They suddenly remember, oh my goodness, it's 10 o'clock. Okay, maybe what they're doing about 10. Okay. Anyway, let's say the child is, let's say it's 10 o'clock sharp. And oh my God, I have an assignment, a project that is due tomorrow. I have to submit. And it's not just that they need to sit down and do the assignment. They need supplies. They need to buy this, they need to buy that. And this is the kind of thing that it will take hours into the night and so on. And of course, you're like, oh my, I love my child. I love my child. I love my child. So you jump into the car. They don't even come with you. You jump into the car and you go to the, big supermarkets that are open for 24 hours. You go and buy all the supplies they need. You buy the glue, you buy the colored paper, you buy the coloring pen and all that. And then you come home and then you sit down, you start helping this child do their homework. And after about 30 minutes, the child says, oh, I'm really tired. I need to go to sleep. Or they say, oh, mommy, thank you so much. And like, can I just put my head down and take a bit of a nap? And that's how the child dozes off and sleeps off. And you are sitting there for the next 4 hours doing the work for this child. Okay, now the way I've explained it is quite clear that you could say that you are enabling that child, but I want to give two perspectives, so two sides of the coin, just to help us see that sometimes it can be helping and sometimes it can literally be enabling. Now, to put some context into it, let's say for that particular child, something happened. Let's say their best friend was sick, suddenly got sick. And the week before, suddenly got sick, just like, God forbid, let's say the best friend collapsed in school and they had to rush the best friend to hospital, and they've been worried, they've been crying, they've been like, mommy, what's going to happen with my friend, etc. And those kind of things. They've just been very distracted and they just can't focus. And they're usually the kind of child that would stay on top of things. They're usually the kind of child that would, put their homework in their planner. They may forget once or twice, but it's not a pattern. Remember the word pattern again. Now, sitting down, doing that, driving out at 10 o'clock to go to the grocery store or to the supermarket to buy the supplies. If the child sleeps off and you end up doing their homework for 4 hours or whatever, is that enabling? No, yeah, it is a one-off. It is not a pattern. This is compassion. This is the love of a mother flowing out of the mother towards the child to say, oh, my child is going through a difficult situation. Let me help my daughter or let me help my son. That is not enabling. All right, because sometimes you can take it to the other extreme and say, hey, didn't you know, I don't care, yes, you have to handle it. No, there's a space, there's place for compassion, there's place for somebody genuinely makes a mistake. They didn't put the homework, they forgot, they were rushing out of the class and they forgot to put the homework down, and they're not usually like that. There's space for that. Somebody that is in your team made a mistake, there is space for that. They're not normally like that. But let's flip it. And this child, they keep getting detentions. They're very disorganized. You tell them to tidy their room. They'll say, yes, mom. They never do it. And you are running up and down, cleaning up after this child. At some point, you have to draw the line and say, do you know what? You have to face the consequences. Because if you don't, guess what this child will be thinking? They'll be thinking, oh, mommy might yell and shout and say, why are you always doing this? Didn't I tell you to pack your bag? But they know that you will still come in, you will still cave in and fix the problem. That you will still come in and clean up after them. So guess what? They know that's how it's going to end. They will never ever change. They will never grow up. They will never take responsibility for that area of their life. And what that means is you're actually setting up this child for some form of failure in their future. You're setting them up for when they go into the workplace not being able to meet deadlines, facing pressure and then cracking under pressure. They start to complain instead of taking the pressure as, do you know what, I can do it. Do you see what I mean? So you have to think about it. And the other part of that is, what effect is it also having on you? You are unhappy. You feel like, I have to help this person. You have to help my child. This is my child. I have to help my child. I have to clean up after this team member. But it's creating stress for you too. It's creating stress for you. The time that you should be investing in something else to move your life forward, to move the whole team forward, you're investing in cleaning that up after somebody else, even if the person is your child. Do you see? So I use parenting because it's very common in parenting. It is very common in parenting. My daughter said something to me a few days ago, and I mean, I was just like, wow. She said to me, "Oh, as in we're just talking," and she said to me, "Oh, thank you for raising me to have you to be confident. Thank you for raising me to be a confident child. As long as I remembered, I've been confident in myself. I do not had low self esteem or whatever. I can't remember exactly how she said it, and she said it's because of the way you raised me. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking the way I raised you. I didn't know what I was doing. Like it's the grace of God. Oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was myself. I was messed up, especially in those early years. But okay, I say that because it's the truth. I honestly did not know what I was doing. I sort of woke up a bit. I woke up probably when she was about 4 or 5, and I'm like, okay, that's also telling you it's not too late. Okay, it's not too late. You can start at any time. Well, maybe if the child is 20 now, you have to commit them. It's intercession now that's required. You cannot be telling your child, yeah, make sure you go and read your books when they're at university. Is your on your knees? You can change this one now, okay? But if they're still very young, quite young, even if they're still in secondary school, okay, you can still go for it. But I remember that was when I sort of became awakened. I remember that I never really sat down to teach my daughter to say, okay, every now and then would read books, but I sort of left her, I wasn't really hands-on because I was working. I had a really high pressure job and all those things. But anyway, this is the point of what I'm saying. I raised her to be independent. I think the fact that even because I didn't just have plenty of time must have contributed to that as well. She was very independent. So I'm trying to make a link between this self-confidence that she's talking about and independence. There's a huge link between how confident a child entered being and how independent they were as a child. Honestly, there's a huge link. You shouldn't be doing everything for your children. You shouldn't be doing things for them. They should be doing for themselves. So for me, I was just like, wow, I see. So you mean raising her to be independent is what has created a confident child? And I was just really grateful for that moment. So parenting, it's very easy for you to say, oh, I love my child, I love my child. No, you're not helping them in the long term. You could be enabling bad behavior. The child is rude. And you say, it's because why are they provoking the child? No, it's not everybody that's provoked that responds in that kind of rude way. Right? Okay, the second example I want to give, and this one, honestly, the way I had the heart to do this thing, I don't know. But because I practiced this thing for years, I can immediately tell. Also because I'm naturally a visionary. By default, I'm always thinking 5 years, 10 years down the line. It's very easy for me. It's very natural for me to sacrifice the present in favor of the future. It's just something, I don't know. I don't know whether I acquired a skill or whether it was one of the gifts I was born with. It's very easy I know it's very difficult for people at times, but honestly, I find it so easy. So for example, the second example, something that happened to me was somebody reached out to me. It was actually, I think it was on LinkedIn. I saw a post and the person was talking about they were raising money, scholarship money for a young lady. And this young lady, essentially, she got pregnant, young lady. I think it was only about 18, and her father kicked her out, and she happened to pass the university entry exams, and she still wanted to go to university. So I mean, she had the baby, but she now didn't have any kind of support, and this person was helping to raise money for her scholarship and all that, her sustenance at school. And of course now I can't even work pass. Ordinary, okay, anything to do with education, I'm there. On top of education, I now hear that this person had a child. I mean, it rings, it's like, it rings home, as in, this is my story now. Do you see what I mean? Even though my own parents didn't kick me out. But anyway, I was just full of compassion. And of course, I jumped in, gave huge amounts of money to help this person, contributed to the education. And I think paid for the whole first year tuition part of it. No, it wasn't just me. Other people contributed, as in the group of people. We paid for her first year of university, and what's the word? Upkeep, right? Food, accommodation, and all those things. So I was like, wow, Father, I thank you for this opportunity to be able to help her. And I also kept in touch, like the encouragement, how's it going, etc., etc. And the person who was helping her, who brought up this person's story to her notice, went even further to help set her up so that she could start to make some money to be able to take care of herself and the child, set her up with a business. I mean, this is the real good Samaritan. He was absolutely amazing with her, helped her set up business and so on, would mentor her, call her once a week, and it was a proper hands-on thing. It wasn't just throwing money at the situation. So I mean, every now and then, I can't remember exactly how many times, maybe once or twice, on top of what I had contributed in terms of money for the first year, I sent her money a couple of times, and then one day she reached out to me, and she was like, "Oh, I need money. Things are really tight, and so on." And I gave her money. I sent her the money. I said, it's fine. I understand the situation, and then I sent her the money. And then it was another time she now reached out to me and asked for money again. Now, could I have given her the money? 100%. 100%. Had it. I had the money. But like I'm saying, I knew that the journey this girl is on is a long and difficult journey. Why? Because I walked it. Because I have walked it, and I did not want her to become dependent on people, because people, there's a limit to how much they can help you. I saw that she was already starting to fall into the trap of, oh, there are people around that can help me, and you become a victim if you do that. Victim mentality. It was hard for me because I know that this girl is me. I am her. I've walked in these shoes. I know how hard it is. But I just made up my mind. I said, no, I'm going to tell her no. I'm going to tell her no. I have the money. And I can imagine the kind of distress I should have been thinking, oh, I need money to do this, I need money to do that, I need money to pay for this. But I told her, I said, no, I'm not going to. And I just had to leave it. I had to leave. I walked away. She never contacted me again. It's not like I stopped talking to her or blocked her or anything. She just never came to ask me again. So I sort of shut the door on her coming and keeping coming back to ask me for money. I said, no. Don't worry, whenever I feel like I want to, I will send you money. But she never came back to ask me for money. And then, do you now know what happened? Not too long ago, after I started recording this series, I said, this is a gift from God. There's no better way to really showcase what I'm talking about in this episode. The same person, the person that put the whole thing together, and the guy that had been helping her and so on, that invited us to come on to the project and help her in the first place. I saw a post on LinkedIn, and he tagged me on it, and he talked about how she had now she had now finished her second year or third year or something. But more importantly, the first business that he set her up with, she wasn't really gelling for her. She was struggling financially, and that's when she was asking for money up and down, and she kept asking for money. I said no. I think the guy also said no, you can't be asking people for money. All right. And because that door was shut, she sat down and she thought, what can I do with my life? And in that sort of almost desperate season of her life, she stumbled onto the cleaning business. She realized that actually I enjoy cleaning. I love cleaning. This other business that I started, it's not really working. I'm not really into it. But she stumbled on the passion, like, I actually enjoy cleaning. So she started cleaning homes and houses and stuff for people. And now she's doing so well. She's generating enough money to take care of herself, pay her school fees, take care of the child. And I even think, if I remember correctly, that she's not even hired people. When I read that, I got up, I was just dancing. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is wonderful. What a gift. Wow, this girl. And I immediately sent her a message. I said, I'm so proud of you. I'm super proud of you. Like, my heart was just overflowing with joy. Imagine if we had all continued just giving her money. She would never have risen up to this next level. The skills she's acquiring as an entrepreneur, the belief that has entered into her soul, all of that came out of nobody helping her. And she realizing that, look, I have to create my own fate. Amazing. I was just so full of gratitude and thanksgiving for, first of all, being part of her help in the first place, and secondly for saying no. I was so happy I followed through with my conviction to say no and to invest more in her future by saying no than to almost cripple her future by saying yes. Amazing. Amazing. The story from the Bible that I want to talk about briefly before I go on to share the 7 signs that you're helping us turn to enabling is, of course, Luke 15, the prodigal son. Luke 15 is one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. I love everything in Luke 15 because it speaks so deeply, and all the parables and so on speak so deeply to my own life, right? And I'm going to read part of it, the parable itself, and let's look at how this man, this father, which is representative of God anyway. So sometimes when you say God, well, it's because God says, I'm not going to enable this bad behavior. I'm not going to enable this victim mentality that you're insisting on building and creating inside yourself. So Jesus said a man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father divided his wealth between the sons. He gave him what he wanted. He could have thought, how can you do that? How can't you say no? Listen, if this guy, when I meditated on, when I sat and really immersed myself in this story, do you know what I realized? I realized that this is not the first time this boy is behaving like this, because he actually was quite persuasive. He was very persuasive. If you go on, it says that, he convinced somebody to give him a job. He said, when he came to himself, he said, I'll go and I'll tell my father. So he had the gift of the gab. He knew how to talk. He knew how to persuade people. He was stubborn, as if I want something, I want it now, and nobody's going to tell me no. And I could imagine that he had been doing it since he was a child. Like, I want this, give me. And the father, being a wise father, would have said no. Like, no, you can't have that. You can't eat all a whole box of sweets before you go. He's going to give you belly ache and he'll cry. If I say, I don't care, you can cry blood, as we say in Nigeria. I'm not giving you, no, you can have one sweet, that's all. Or no, I'm not going to help you. If the project fails, it fails. That kind of thing. So he had been doing it. And the father had been putting boundaries in place, but he was not learning. This is the point I'm making. It got to the point where the father must have been like, this one is not learning anything. No, he's not learning the lesson. He's refusing to learn the lesson. So, do you know what? I'm going to remove my protection. You want it, right? Fine. Take it. Let's see how that works out for you. Not jumping in to prevent people from experiencing consequences. So he said, at your age, you've never worked a day in your life properly. You are surrounded by servants. You're now saying you want, okay, sure, no problem. And of course, he went and he wasted it. The Bible says he wasted it in wild living. About the time when the money ran out, a great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. I don't believe for 1 second that the father did not know what was happening. If the famine ravaged the land, the father would have known. He was not in the land. He would have known. He would have been tracking him. That would be like, famine. He could have run to find him. He could have run to say, I don't want my child to starve. My son suffering. My son working for pigs or with pigs. He didn't do anything. He did what? Nada. The same way I told the girl, I said, no, I'm not going to give you money. I said, no, I had the money. The father had lots of resources to bail out this child, his son, but he didn't do it. Why? Because he needed to come to the place of reckoning. He says the young man became so hungry that even the pot he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. Nobody gave him, thank God, no one gave him anything. Because if somebody had come and said, it's okay, do you know what? You don't have to eat with the pigs. I'm going to give you something slightly better than eating with the pigs. Just come with me. He would have accepted it. And he would have lived like a slave the rest of his life. Or he could have been drawn into a life of crime if somebody had quote unquote showed up to help him. He said nobody gave him anything. God put a hedge around him. Do you know that God puts a hedge around us? And that hedge is not, protecting from bad things from happening. It is protecting from good things from happening so that you can come to the place of reckoning. And if you keep breaking down the hedge to go and insist on helping the person, how will they ever come to that place where they recognize that, this path I've been on is not good? People, they will never learn. It says, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, he was never the same person again. When he went to the Father, he bowed down in humility. He had finally learned his lesson. But you think, how can the Father just be watching his son suffer? No, helping him in that situation would have been enabling that bad behavior of, if I want something, I want it. Shebi, you said you wanted it. Oh yeah, now that you have it. What's the consequence of that? Allowing people to face the consequences of their own actions is sometimes helping them. Sometimes it could destroy them, and if it's going to destroy them, you step in. But you have to be sensitive enough to know when is when, which is which. Do you see what I mean? Because if you keep stepping in, they will never learn. They will never grow beyond that stage. The potential inside them will never come out. The same with this young lady. And what happened to her? Okay. So I want to talk about 7 signs when your helping has become enabling. And I've mentioned some of these along the way. The first one is if the person now is displaying or exhibiting entitlement behavior. When they have become entitled, they now have this attitude of, you have to help me because ... fill in the gap. You have to help me because you are my boss. You have to help me because you are my brother, and so on and so forth. They've become so dependent, reliant on receiving external help, that it has created a victim mentality inside them. They now think that you, or generally life, owes them something. The problem with that is life owes nobody nothing that they haven't first invested in it. An entitlement mentality creates laziness. It makes people lazy because they expect to show up and just get without investing. And one of the governing principles of this life is, what a man sows, that shall he also reap. You can't just show up and feel entitled to receive something where you have not sown. You haven't sown the seed for it. You haven't worked for it. You haven't followed instructions to create something. The seed can be anything. It can be anything. It's not just, I'm not talking about walk until you quench and then life will give you something. No, a seed has to be planted somewhere. This is how life works. Nobody shows up on this earth without the seed of sperm being planted inside a woman. Do you see? There's nothing that anybody can get unless a seed is sown, even if the seed is sown on their behalf somewhere. So what happens is they want to keep reaping from someone else's harvest. That's what entitlement creates. So somebody sowed their own seed, they watered their own seed, they removed all the weeds, they made sure they monitored everything, put the labor in, got their harvest, and somebody wants to keep reaping from someone else's harvest without sowing their own seeds. What do you think that's going to create? Laziness. It creates laziness. Laziness in thinking, laziness in actions. So it's not helping the person at all. So when you begin to see that somebody is actually becoming entitled, you have to say, if I keep showing up to support and help this person simply because they're feeling entitled to it, am I helping them? No, you're not helping them. You're enabling that victim mentality. And is it good for anybody to feel like a victim? They may not admit it, that they're a victim, but that's really what they're showing up to be. That's what they're showing up to be, like they're helpless. You have to help me. You have to help me. I don't have to help you. I don't have to help anybody. There's a very small category of people in this life that I have to help. So if you don't fall into that category, and of course I'm talking about that in the 4th and final episode of the series next week. If you don't fall into that category, I don't have to help you. I don't have to help you. So simply because you think I must help you does not mean I should. And if you're already starting to think that I have to help you, there's already a problem there, because I'm not the savior. I'm not God. I'm not God. The only person that has to help everybody is God. And he's waiting for you to come so that he can transform you into another person. So that's the first one. The second one is, if you find that you are automatically who they turn to, you personally are automatically, this person comes to anytime they find themselves in any kind of jam, any kind of difficulty, your name is what pops into their head straight away, immediately, including children. You're not supposed to be the one that is showing up for your child in everything. In everything. They're supposed to do things for themselves. There are other people that are supposed to help them. It's not just you. Except, we're talking about children that are now independent now. We're not talking about a baby. Say a baby that is 6 months old. Say, why can't you do something? No, I mean, you know what I mean. Okay, so when I say including children or your children or whatever, I'm not talking, you know what I mean. Yeah. So automatically, anytime problem shows up, it is bank of mom and dad. I mean, with my daughter that's gone, she's in university, and I found out that whenever she needed anything, of course, because we paid to help her get settled in school, blah, 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 tuition is sorted and all those kinds of things. But then I realized that, I want to buy this. Call mom or dad. I want to buy it. I said, hey, do we look like a bank to you, auntie? Go and work. And in fact, actually, she was already working. So thank God, I trained her, go and get a job. So off the bat, she was already working. But even though she was working, she was saving all that money. She was saving all her money, and then she just say, okay, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, I just will be seeing things by Amazon account. This one, just say, what made this girl buy? After, as in, when she was going back, I think it was beginning of second year, my husband and I, said my husband and I, but it was mainly me, because left to my husband. We just say, let's just give. I say, no. We just said, listen, all your living expenses, you are responsible for everything. Every now and then, of course, you want to buy something, okay, fine, use the Amazon account. But like your electricity, gas, where all those things you are paying. Food, grocery, you are paying. I want to buy shoe, I want to buy bag, I want to buy dress, you are paying for it. Because I knew what I was doing. I knew what imagine how limited her supply will be if we have our automatic supply. How much money do we have? Hello, compared to when she begins to understand that I can generate this thing. There's a limitless supply inside her as a child of the Most High God. When she taps into that and begins to draw from it to meet her own needs, imagine how unlimited that's going to be compared to always just asking mom and dad. It will come to a point where there will be something she'll ask and we don't have now. And we don't have. No be so. Do you see what I mean? So that auntie, so that is when they automatically, and that's how the brain works. The brain is so efficient that the moment you present your brain with a solution to something, it records it. The next time something similar happens, it will automatically flash that solution. And so when the person, if you see that it's always you that come into, it's always you they're coming to. It's always you. This one is not even like they're entitled. The first one is entitled. Hey, I have a connection with you. I have a relationship with you. You must help me. No. This one is not. They may come with all humility. They may come with all, I would really love it if you could help me. Like our daughter was not coming and saying, yeah, my parents, you have. No, she never did that. She always asked politely. She was always very grateful. But I realized that this girl, go and supply your own need. Go to Jesus. And let Jesus become your source to supply your need. Plug into infinite supply. Go and plug into the infinite supply of God and the infinite intelligence to generate money. So if people are automatically talking to you, you have to draw the line at some point for their sake. Not necessarily for your own sake, because the help they're asking at that point, we could have continued to show up. We have it. Why not give it? But for their own sake, someone on your team, they keep coming to you, keep correcting their mistakes. They submit the project, it's full of mistakes, you keep doing it. One of the things that from the very beginning, when I started my business, and I learned this working as a professional and leading teams, I will always send work back. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how uncomfortable it makes the person feel. I will send it back. I'm not correcting your mistakes for you. I will send it back because, and I mean, oh my goodness, I have to share this. Because we're hiring in our company, and one of our managers that was on the interview panel with me, we're interviewing a candidate, and the person asked, what should I expect? We gave them an opportunity to ask a question, and they said, what should I expect working for this company? And one of my managers that was there with me interviewing this person said, do you know what? You can expect growth. And she went on to talk about how when she started this job, that the person that started the job and the person that's sitting here interviewing her is two completely different people, because she has grown so much. She has grown so much, even beyond what her job description was. And that's because I give people opportunities to grow. I don't baby anybody. I don't even baby my own children. I don't baby people. The first time you come, you say, okay, fine, I'll help. The second one, by the time it's coming, third time, you're like, No, you should have graduated from the first time, the second time. Something should be shifting in the way you think. You can still come and ask for help, but the help should be on a higher level. The help should not be, you just submit the work and then I send it back, or you're asking, what should I do next? This time it should be, look, I've researched, I've come up with all these different strategies, but I'm still not sure, I'm still a bit stuck. Can we brainstorm? You can see that the thing has gone to another level. And for me, I was just so happy and so grateful that she said that, because it was what I set out to do intentionally. You may have it to give, but should you give it? Is it helping the person if you're automatically the one that is jumping in to help them? The third one is, now this one is, you continue to help someone even when you know that it's harmful to them, because you're afraid of what they or people will say or think. You've come into the awareness that, this thing is not helping this person, or this thing is not helping this person, or it's not helping them, but you don't want to stop because you're afraid of what people will say, people will think. So it's no longer about the help you're rendering, it's more now about your reputation. You're enabling that person. You're not helping them. You know that if you keep sending money to this person, that they will keep sitting down and they will not do anything. But you keep doing it because they'll say, look at your family member. Does this person not have family member? As in, the Holy Spirit inside you, there's a conviction inside you that's saying, stop, what you're doing is wrong. But because of what? Reputation, because of fear of people, because you want to please the person or please people, you continue to do it. That's a sign that you're now an enabler rather than a helper. Number 4, you ignore, accept, or take the blame for bad behavior that is 100% their responsibility, but you tell yourself you're only being supportive. That's why you keep helping them. The behavior is bad. The reason why they keep shouting at me and getting so angry is because I'm not doing the job properly. So the boss has a hot temper. That's his responsibility. Are there bosses where people make mistakes or don't do projects properly and they don't shout? So if that exists, that means it is not the fact that the work was not done well. It's because this person has an issue with their character that they need to fix. But you say, it's okay. No, you make excuses for the person. It's because I'll try and be better. And it's really, if we really look at it, it's nothing to do with you. The person just needs to fix their bad behavior. So making excuses or taking the blame and thinking, it's me, it's because I didn't do it well, that's why this is happening, or it's because, or feeding on guilt, I wasn't there for them when that happened, I just feel like for the rest of their life I need to just support them no matter what they do, no matter how bad they behave or how badly they behave. It's okay, it's because no, that's enabling. you're not helping that person in the long run. Number 5, this is very straightforward. You do for them what they can and should be doing for themselves. The way to actually move this forward is, instead of doing it for them, invest the same energy into teaching them how to do it. Invest the same energy into teaching them how to do it. So for example, I talked about on my team, if somebody presents work that I know that they didn't even sit down to really think about it, I will send it back. I'm not going to sit down and then be correcting it or changing of the. I would actually make notes and say, okay, look at this, and send it back. So I'm investing time in helping them become better. I don't do it for them and say, oh, do you know what? I don't even want the hassle. I don't want the stress. Let's leave it. So, some people don't even feedback to the person. Some people don't even ever bring it up. And then later on, if the person does not get promoted, they'll be like, why didn't I get promoted? It's because nobody ever told them that the work they've been doing was rubbish, was not up to standard. Right? They never ever tell them because they're afraid of conflict. They're afraid of telling somebody, oh, this work is not good enough. Go and make it better. So I'd rather invest the time and say, okay, these are the things that I think you need to go back and think. And even if we do back and forth 10 times, I would rather invest that energy in that than to do it for them. It's their job. They should be doing it. They will never grow if I do it all. I'm the only person that will be growing. I'm the only person. And you have to think of in terms of parenting. If you're doing everything for your child, the only person that is gaining from that is you. And the only thing you're gaining is the fulfillment of knowing that, oh, I'm helping my child. That feeling is emotions that will dissipate. What about the child's future? Do you see what I mean? Or hiring people to do things for your children. Everything. Children don't do chores again. Everything is being done by maids and this one, that, especially in maybe a country in Nigeria where they have 50 million maids or whatever. It's not good. It's not good. You have to allow these children actually grow. They have to do things for themselves. They are growing in character by being able to do things for themselves. Don't do for them what they can do for themselves. So invest the time in working together and teaching them. Right? That actually is harder because you would need patience. Because they don't get it right first and you want to be like upset and irritated. Like, why can't you get it? This one is harder. Sitting down to help them is harder than just doing it yourself. It saves time for you to just do it yourself and say, just be going. I'll do it myself. That's easier. But in the long run, it's not helping the person. Number 6, saving them from facing the consequences of their own behavior. The father of the prodigal son said, hey, you want it? Okay, come. No worries. Take. He didn't save him from the consequences of his decisions. You can't because life does not work like that. What you sow is what you reap. At some point, the consequences will catch up with them and you will not be present to help them take those consequences away. And if they've never ever grown up or grown accustomed to dealing with consequences, it's going to overwhelm them. It is, honestly, it will overwhelm. They won't know what to do. They'll feel like, oh my God, I stubbed my toe. The world is just crashing around. I mean, number of times people say, just on everything. And they say, okay, tell me exactly what's happening. And you say, hey, well, that's how. And when they tell you the thing, it's one tiny thing like that. And they're like, this is why you think the world is crashing. It's because they've never really handled, been left alone to deal with the consequences that life throws at them. They don't have resilience. Do you see what I mean? There's so many adults walking around that don't have that sort of that deep gutsy grit, like I will do it, because a lot of times they were raised with consequences being shielded away from them. Number 7, final one, making things too easy, and this links to the previous one, making things too easy for people, robbing them of the opportunity to do something on their own so that they can build their own confidence. So if you find out that you're always sort of dumbing things down, you're always making things too easy for people. This is a grown person, no? You say, oh, I just want to make life easy for them. No, you can't make life easy. They have to have some challenges to face. They have to have. So one is consequences, and one is you are saying, I just want them to have an easy life, including your children. Your children must not have too easy a life. Of course, you protect them from danger, but there must be some things that must be hard for them, so that they can develop great. So that, what that actually does is, if a child does something, go and look at the little child that carries something that's heavy for them. See the pride on their face, the joy that, oh, mommy, look, I'm doing it. They feel so happy that they're able to do it. We say, no, don't carry that. Before the child even lifted the thing, you've carried it. No, don't do that. Don't do that for any human being. Don't say, oh, my younger ones, I just want to make things easy for them. No, they need trouble. They need pressure. They need mountains in their life. They need mountains. What did I say? They need mountains. You go out, you face mountains, you speak and cast mountains into the ocean, you face and fight bears and lions, and you come back with the spoil, and then you now come and say that, oh, nobody else should fight lions and bears. Don't you know that it's the lions and bears you are fighting that's making you advance like that in life? Why are you robbing other people of such advancements? Why are you making it too easy for them and saying, no, don't fight any lions and bears? If David had not fought lions and bears, would they have killed Goliath? Do you see what I mean? So don't make things too easy. If you find that you are starting to make, things too easy, you're enabling. You may feel good about it. The person may feel good about it. But is it helping them? Cast your mind forward and say, in the long run, will this harm this person? Anyway, that's where I'm going to end it today. In the next episode, I'll finish up the series by talking about the people that you must continue to help, regardless of any of the things that I've said in the first 3 episodes. I will see you there. This is Olawumi Brigwe. Bye.